man's desire to change the future. Is that not so? Even if everything has been predestined, will you not oppose it? The Monado is now in your hands. The Monado will grow with you. If you can find the true Monado, the future is yours.
Hello, welcome back to Nintendad. I'm Kieran, and I'm bringing you a Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition for Nintendo Switch review. So let's just crack on, shall we? Almost a decade after its original launch in Japan, 8 years on from Operation Rainfall, and 5 years after it was released in stereoscopic 3D on the new Nintendo 3DS, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition arrives on the Nintendo Switch, and in doing so, cements itself amongst the upper echelons of the best that the hybrid system has to offer. Xenoblade Chronicles is a JRPG, a Japanese role-playing game, featuring an active combat system that combines real-time strategy and action, story-driven moments, stunning locales, and hours upon hours of engaging gameplay, all of which have been remade and polished to near perfection. This isn't a simple remaster. This is a remake from the ground up that not only polishes what can only be described as a diamond in the rough, but elevates it. With all that said and done, join me on this journey as we look at Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition on Nintendo Switch.
Big fish coming!
Set 1 year from the Battle of Sword Valley that saw the Homs army, led by the heroes Dunban and Dixon, as well as Mumka, make their last stand against the army of the Mechonis, the Mechon, Xenoblade Chronicles' story picks up with our protagonist Shulk once again daydreaming. After a brief introduction to his best friend Rhine, as well as his childhood sweetheart Fiora, things take a tragic turn for the worse as a Mechon attack on Colony 9, our humble Homs protagonist's home, leaves the colony in ruins with lives lost. The results of this unprovoked attack send Shulk and his companions on a quest for nothing more than revenge, setting in motion an epic tale of friendship, love, hatred, deception and survival, all set to a backdrop of mystery and intrigue. What Xenoblade Chronicles deliver in its 50 plus hours main story arc is a powerful narrative that is heightened by its likeable characters, which in turn are augmented by the brilliant voice acting provided. You can choose from traditional Japanese with subs or English, and by English I mean British, right down to Daddy Pig himself, Richard Ridings. Success is a journey, not a destination, and Xenoblade Chronicles succeeds in delivering breathtaking locale after breathtaking locale. The journey in Xenoblade Chronicles sees our ragtag group of miscreants traverse not one, but two epic titans, the Bionis and Mechonis. This allows Monolith Soft to flex their creative muscles, and in doing so they have created an eclectic, comely game mod that, when you consider it was originally created a decade ago for the already outdated tech on the Wii, it is even more remarkable. The Nintendo Switch has given Monolith Soft a platform to realise their original vision, all without the assistance of the Monado. As previously alluded to, Xenoblade Chronicles is an RPG that combines strategic elements with real-time combat, the culmination of which is a devilishly delectable and utterly addictive system that, in the opinion of this humble hack, Monolith Soft has yet to better. The basis of the battle system sees the user-controlled character input commands while your two teammates fight alongside you of their own volition. Simple commands can be inputted during combat that allow you, the party leader, to influence your partners slightly, such as focus attacks or come to me command, but for the most part your squad will make use of their arts when they see fit. Arts, the term that Xenoblade Chronicle uses to describe attacks, have a cooldown period after use that can be upgraded as you progress through your adventure and earn AP, which are art points. This means that choosing when and how to use arts is vitally important, and thankfully the game's AI generally does a good job of choosing when to implement an art that will be to the benefit of the battle in progress and boost the Affinity Meter. The Affinity Meter is a triple-pronged blue bar at the top left of the screen that serves a multitude of purposes. Firstly, when all three chambers of the Affinity Meter are filled, a chain attack can be initiated, providing an opportunity to deal some major damage. When a chain attack is ready, blue links will connect the party. Strategies include using offensive break topple daze stacks, or using the Affinity Meter to provide a respite and the chance to do some healing. However you play it, chain attacks can be stacked by using arts of the same colour, up to a total of 15, And at the end of each turn, with 3 commands, chain links can be activated by pressing the B button at the correct time. While this may seem incredibly confusing, once mastered it provides an in-depth and engrossing battle system. It's also worth noting that certain groups of enemies can perform chain attacks too. If a battle is to proceed long enough for their own respective affinity meter to fill, at this point the red lines will link the enemies. Aside from chain attacks, affinity can also be used to revive fallen allies or to encourage them. Each of these actions requires an entire block of affinity to do so, and can be detrimental to the possibility of a chain attack, so it's important to balance the risk-reward of reviving a teammate, when perhaps a quick round of chain attacks will finish the enemy instead. Affinity is earned in battle in a number of ways. Performing arts is the most basic way to fill the affinity gauge, but having good affinity of your team is paramount to quickly filling the tank and stacking chain attacks. The simplest way to achieve this is for accepting and performing side quests, which give the active party a warm fuzzy feeling, boosting morale and with it raising affinity. This translates into battle through burst affinity. Burst affinity is achieved 3 ways: by dodging an attack, performing a critical hit, or by even missing an attack. In these moments, an on-screen prompt to press B will appear, and if timed correctly, will raise party affinity and fill the gauge slightly. Outside of the battle system, affinity unlocks additional skill links and allows better gem crafting, resulting in more proficient gems. To somewhat conclude this mini review of the battle system of Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, it's complex. There's a lot to learn, with various, seemingly random factors all coming together in a sort of chaotic harmony, like the works of Picasso or Henrik Ignaz Franz von Bilber's Battaglia. But once experienced enough to fully understand and appreciate, its amalgamation is blissfully decadent and deliciously Moorish. Aesthetically, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition is as good a looking game as I've experienced on the Nintendo Switch. The locales of the Bionis and Mechonis are instantly familiar to people who have played the game before, but thanks to the impressive work done remastering Xenoblade Chronicles, these stunning game worlds are more opulent than before. Aside from the obvious leap to full HD, the most notable upgrade is in the texture department. Considering the scope of these areas, the work which has been done to refine them was nothing short of astounding. When paired with the new HD engine and the extra grunt afforded to proceedings by the Nintendo Switch, the end result is, at times, breathtaking. Unfortunately, one thing that remains from the days of yonder are the robotic animations. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and its brilliant DLC, Torna the Golden Country, saw Monolith Soft master the mechanics of animating humans. However, despite all of the things that Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition does well, animating human-like character models isn't one of them. Their competence for crafting meticulous game worlds and environments doesn't translate when applied to protagonists, antagonists, and NPCs alike. The result is some very robotic movements, sometimes even little glitches when traversing obstacles. That being said, this doesn't carry over to the expansive cinematic cutscenes which, given the game's new graphical style, largely adopting the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 approach, are more fluid and fresher than a dip in Machina Falls. The dormant Bionis and Mechonis were once living titans, and it's fitting that their sleeping bodies are now home to such luscious life. Trees and bushes sway in the wind, water shimmers and reflects sunlight from above, and creatures, large and small, roam the landscapes freely. Areas such as Littoral Marsh and Erith Sea utilise bloom lighting to create giddy and euphoric skylines, and weather effects create even more variety, with storms, sunsets and blue skies often providing extraordinary backdrops. There is a caveat, however, as sometimes there is simply just too much going on for the Nintendo Switch to process. During a trip to Erith Sea during a mesmerising meteor shower, flowers and foliage often popped in and out, and at one point during battle, the enemy I was fighting simply disappeared. The original score of Xenoblade Chronicles was masterfully mellifluous, fusing inspiriting classical arrangements with heavily distorted, screeching electric guitars. It seems somewhat preposterous to think that it could be improved upon, but the proof is in the pudding, what a delicious, decadent delight said pudding is. To paraphrase the youth of today, it slaps. For the most part, Xenoblade Chronicles performs admirably on the Nintendo Switch. Docked, it really shines, and with a consistent frame rate, provides the optimal experience. That being said, I did have 3 instances where the game crashed on me, all of which were whilst I was playing docked. In handheld and on the Nintendo Switch Lite, the overall performance does take a slight dive in quality, with textures becoming far more jagged and blurred. It's not overly detrimental to the experience, and perfect for farming collectibles for the massive Colony 6 side quest. Given the cinematic nature of the story content, however, it is best experienced on the largest screen possible. One of many a gamer's biggest gripes with Xenoblade Chronicles on the Wii was how difficult it could be to track side quests, especially when you started to accrue a backlog. Thankfully, the new real-time tracking system, along with active quest markers, makes this nothing more than a bitter memory. In battle, new prompts suggest attacks to utilise in order to achieve chain attacks or break topple daze stacks, which serves as a nice reminder and makes the incredibly complex battle system infinitely more enjoyable. My personal biggest slight with the original game was that if you wanted to upgrade your gear, you'd likely lose your stylised look. Once more, Monolith Soft listened to the ramblings of their biggest fan and have implemented a customization menu that allows just that. Now appearances are no longer tied to equipment, and you can tinker with your jungle boots and sleek oil to your heart's content without affecting the edgy jungle pirate vibe you've got going on. Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition is more than just a remaster, and the inclusion of all new story content sees the mantle of Definitive Edition embraced in every sense of the word. Monolith Soft could have easily released Future Connected as standalone DLC, the way in which they did with Torna. However, the decision to include it within the confines of the Definitive Edition speaks volumes about the studio embracing the moniker they have adopted. Whereas the base game of Xenoblade Chronicles has been lovingly remastered, it is immediately apparent that Future Connected has been built from the ground up. It looks stunning, and the Bionic shoulder is more alive and vibrant than any area found in the base game. With it available from the start, completing the base game is not a prerequisite for unlocking it. Veterans of the series can jump straight in and experiencing this epilogue chapter that offers new locations, enemies, and further fleshes out the aftermath of Shulk and Melia's story. Both Adam Howden and Jenna Coleman reprised voice acting duties for Future Connected 2, meaning no disconcerting, discombobulating handovers. Beyond what I spoke about in my preview, there isn't much I'm comfortable saying about Future Connected without taking away from players who have been yearning to explore the Bionic shoulder for the best part of a decade, so I won't. Alright, I'll give you one little morsel of information. Future Connected contains quiet moments akin to the base game's Heart to Hearts. As I said, a morsel, an amuse-bouche if you like, to salivate the palate in preparation. If the 50-plus hour main campaign, the additional story content and the reams of side quests weren't enough to satiate your every women need, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition offers even more content. Once the main game is completed, the option to create a New Game Plus save file appears. In New Game Plus, all XP, art, skills, affinity and money carry over, along with any gear equipped, and when you complete the game as well as a select amount of additional materials and weapons. It's something of a double-edged monado though, as enemies in New Game Plus remain at the level they were before, meaning that New Game Plus is an incredibly dumbed-down experience. It would have been nice if enemies leveled to match you and provide a little more challenge. That being said, the new Expert mode allows you to lower your level in order to provide more challenge. When Expert mode is enabled, XP gained from discovering landmarks and secret areas is banked. If you find the challenge getting too much, you can use the banked XP to level up your party. Anyone who's played Xenoblade Chronicles 2 will instantly recognise this system. It's worth noting that this feature is available from the offset and not inherently tied to New Game Plus. On the flip side, if you're finding the going too tough, there is an all-new casual mode too. In casual mode, the difficulty of battles is reduced, resulting in opponents' attacks missing more often and damage taking reduced slightly. At the end of the day, accessibility is paramount to the Nintendo Switch experience. A huge plus side of the New Game Plus is the Collectopedia remains, so any entry made in your initial playthrough carry over. The Collectopedia is a scrapbook of sorts that allow you to use items that you've collected throughout your journey to fill in area-specific pages. It's broken up into categories, and once an entire category is complete, you're rewarded with armour and gems. The later the area of the game, the better the rewards. In Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, much like nearly every other aspect of the game, the Collectopedia has given an overhaul and looks a lot fresher as a result. Also ripped straight from the pages of the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 playbook is the Events Theatre mode, which can be accessed from the main menu. This allows you to rewatch all of the game's cinematic moments, with the added ability to change your party's outfit, as well as, where applicable, the time of day. It's another frabjous little addition that further justifies Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition tag. Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition is without any shadow of a doubt the best way to experience this epic JRPG. For newcomers of the franchise, it's a chance to explore Monolith Soft's masterpiece in its most opulent form. For ardent veterans, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition will offer familiarity without breeding contempt. The graphical overhaul, remastered soundtrack, quality of life improvements and new story content will offer the perfect excuse to get lost with Shulk all over again.
Juju! What is it? It's Juju!